Hey guys, so this is just a video to help you understand how to use these flowcharts about naming ionic and covalent compounds. So the first step is to figure out whether you have an ionic or a covalent compound. So for example, if we're doing CaCl2, we look over here, calcium is a metal and Cl is a nonmetal. So if I have a metal and a nonmetal, that is an ionic compound, as you should have read earlier in this assignment. So first step, figure out if it's ionic or covalent. If it's ionic, the first thing you need to do is name the cation. So the cation is the positive ion. It will always be written first. So you name the first element first, and you're just going to give it the same name as the original element on the periodic table. So Ca is calcium. So we're going to name the cation calcium. And then for the anion, you just change the end of the name to "ide." So Cl is chlorine, but we're going to change it to chloride. So the whole thing is going to be calcium chloride. Now, if you figure out that your compound is a covalent compound, so for example, SO2 has a S and O are both nonmetals, then you've got a couple more steps. First, for the first element, you ask, is there more than one atom of the first element? So our first element is S, there's just one S. So the answer is no. So we do not add a prefix, and we'll talk about these prefixes down here in just a second. So our first element is going to be just sulfur. For the second element, we need to add a Greek prefix to the beginning of the name and change the ending to "ide." So we've got oxygen over here. Since we've got two oxygens, we need to add the Greek prefix for 2, which is di. And we need to change the ending to "ide." So instead of oxygen, it's going to be dioxide. So this is going to be sulfur dioxide. I want to show you just one more example of a covalent compound. It's a little bit different. This is N2O. Okay, so our first element this time, there is more than one atom because there's two N's or nitrogens. So if there's more than one, then we do need to add the Greek prefix, which is di, but we don't add "ide, so it's going to be dinitrogen. And then for oxygen, there's just one, but since it's the second element, we give it a Greek prefix even if there's just one. So it's going to be mono. So dinitrogen monoxide, because we need to change the ending to "ide." So that's how you name ionic and covalent compounds. So on this assignment, it's really important that before you try and name it, you figure out whether it's ionic or covalent. Because if it ends up being covalent, you need to follow this chart. If it ends up being ionic, you need to follow this chart.